At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps.
Observations TFR 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday.
I'm hearing feedback from your mic. Your mic is
yes, you are.
Here we are. Happy MLK Day. Happy MLK Day. How's everybody doing? This is happy MLK Day. All right. Make sure you smash the share button, the like button. We're going on another journey today. We're taking you some places today. We want to say, we're going to talk about how this all juxtaposes up against each other. What we saw on the 6th of January to what's going on with what Martin Luther King was talking about, right? So smash the share button, smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe to wherever you're watching us at right now. Make sure that you subscribe. Now, we want to welcome everyone in to the broadcast. We are simulcasting on Vimeo, Periscope, FB on You Found the Spot page, and on the Film Review Live channel on YouTube. So we want to shout out to everybody who has tuned in, right? We are getting ready to take you places, but before we begin, I want to say what's up to everyone on this MLK Day. This has truly been a MLK weekend, because Friday we did our thing. And then Sunday we did our thing. And then Monday we are completing the full circle. So yes, this is truly MLK Day. I need you to check the 213-943-3358 line, Tonya, to make sure. I had a phone call come through on this line, and that usually
Also,
knocks
check the broadcast on the You Found the Spot. I don't see us live on the Facebook.
I see us live here. I see us live. It's just they didn't pump it out like they usually do. But I see people coming in, but they didn't pump it out like they usually do. That's something that Facebook is doing, right? But I just need that phone line checked real quick.
Okay.
Yeah. This MLK Day, right? This MLK Day, the phone lines are open. So is my wife. So is Tonya checked.
For some reason, it's not showing 213-943-3358.
Right. I just need to check it real quick before we get started, because the phone lines will be open for you to call in and talk about your thoughts on Martin Luther King. Did you see the documentary that debuted talking about MLK/FBI? Did you see that documentary? Okay, we're on. So the phone lines are open. 213-943-3358. Miss Ash says, it's not up. I had to come to YouTube. Okay, Facebook is doing some stuff. Yes, they are, because I saw it, and I'm looking right at it. It's up. They're just not publicizing it. That's fine. Come on over to YouTube. That's right. We make it happen over here. Okay. So before we go any further, let me introduce my special co-host, my sister Tonya M. Congress. How you doing this morning?
I am doing well. Just looking at, I'm seeing that Monday was extraordinary until just now. It's always some crap on Monday. There's always some crap on Monday, but I'm doing pretty good. I got my fruit and my apple and my ginger here and a cup of coffee. I had pretty good rest last night. I turned it in a bit earlier. If you can say 12 o'clock is a little bit earlier for me, it is, because sometimes I'm up till 3. So the sun is partly sunny today. There's snow out on the ground, cold outside, and then I put my trash out. And see, what I did was I got up at 8 o'clock this morning, because I usually hear them coming around about 9:30. So I said, let me get on up, go put the trash out. Well, I seen some people with their trash out, and I was thinking as I was rolling down the driveway, for some reason, I don't think I should be putting the trash out. Well, it's out there now. It's going to stay out there. So it'll stay out there till tomorrow. But anyway, yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Ready to get this show on the road today. We have our shows are always jam-packed, so we got some stuff for you today. How you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing as well as can be expected in the middle of this pandemic virus. The one of Biden's people said by February, 500,000 people will be dead at the number from the virus, right? It's just fear.
You know what?
Fear.
Let me say something.
Fear. Go ahead.
We're told to decree a thing, and it shall be established. So, as servants of the Most High God, I take authority over that lying word. I take authority over it as a representative of the kingdom and ambassador of the kingdom. I take authority over it and quench that word. It will not go forward. Death and life is in the power of the tongue. They that love it will eat the fruit thereof. So he can speak that for him and his. It's not going to be for me and mine, and not for the majority. 500,000, I cancel that word.
It's funny because they're going to make those numbers say what they want them to say anyway, right? So MLK, right? So look, as we go, and am I right? Is Miss Ash right that the holiday is tomorrow? Check that. Is it a Tuesday holiday? Because all federal holidays fall on Tuesday. Is that true? I thought it was Monday, but check it. She might be right.
So too,
she may be right.
President's Day and Martin Luther King Day. Let's see.
Fall on what day? We need to know that real quick.
Martin Luther King federal holiday is today.
Today. That's right. Okay, I just wanted to be clear. All right. Let's go with the first meme, because, this is what I observed. Now, this is just what I observed, right? What I observed, right? I observed this over the weekend, so I took a picture of it, and I said, I'm going to bring it here as show and tell. What does that say gas is right now out here in the West Coast? Let me make it a little smaller so people can see it, so my big head won't be in the way. What does that say that gas is right now, Tonya? Can you see that?
Yeah, it says 281, right?
281. Have you noticed, people? Now, let me juxtapose that with what gas was just at the beginning of COVID in March. This is what gas was on the West Coast. Well, in Las Vegas, but we're West Coast. $2.52 a gallon. As the diesel was $2.72. Diesel was always higher, right? So let's move that to the side. So diesel has jumped up about 7 cents. Petrol, gasoline has jumped up. Can you see it? It has jumped up. Basically, it has jumped up 29 cents. 29 cents. We are damn near at $3 a gallon out here on the West Coast, right? Nearly $3 a gallon. Why does gasoline go up? Why does gasoline go up, right? Why does gasoline go up depending on who's in the presidency? Now, this is 252. This is in the summer. This is just, the economy was good just before COVID kicked off, right? Economy was going to be roaring. Everybody thought 2020 was going to be the year. Now, 252, when President Obama lost office. When President Obama left office, his gas price was $2.41 a gallon. $2.41 a gallon. Trump's gas price in March, top of March, was $2.52. Now we have President-elect Biden, and the gas price has went up to $2.81. 29 cents. Who would ever think that 29 cents would make that much a difference? This is going up to $4. You wanna know why? Wanna know why? I don't know what it's gonna be. Cleveland, I've seen they're usually at, when we were at $2.52, they were at like $2.39. So they're gonna be up to around $3 and $4 also, right? They're gonna be trying to push those hybrid cars off on people, right? They're going to be trying to push those hybrid cars off on people. And how do you push hybrid cars off on people? Well, you make the gas prices higher and say, you know what? It would be better if you were driving a hybrid. But it's really not better. You want to know why it's not better? Want to know why it's not better? Because my CPA back in the day told me, rock your car until the wheels fall off. And I was looking forward to rocking the car until the wheels fall off because it was paid for. This is a car note is another bill. And you don't want a bill. And those hybrid cars cost exorbitant prices, okay? So we just wanted to make that observation. Now, here's another observation that's on the internet, right? On Miscellaneous Mondays, right? Miscellaneous Mondays. We put prices on each other's head, but we didn't put a price on Zimmerman's head. We put prices on each other's head, but we didn't put a price on Zimmerman's head. What does that really say? I'm just going to leave that right there, let you figure that out for yourself. Let's keep going. This one comes from James Foreman, right? And he says, don't confuse my post with my personal life. My posts are just to entertain you. Don't confuse my posts with my personal life. My posts are just to entertain you. Let's keep moving here through these memes this morning, right? Miscellaneous Mondays. Now, here's one that everyone should remember. Who knew that styrofoam would be so detrimental? Later, you find out that styrofoam is so detrimental. If you have ever eaten a Big Mac out of this container, you are as old as dirt.
Well,
if you have ever eaten a Big Mac out of this container, you are as old as dirt. Listen, remember when the Big Mac was the Big Mac? Right? Remember, the Big Mac had to be about this big. That was the Big Mac. 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese on a sesame seed
pickles,
bun.
onions on a sesame seed
Yeah,
bun.
whatever. Yeah. So, you see, it used to be that big. Now, remember I remember my best friend at the time, he swore by Burger King. He swore by Burger King. He said Burger King, because, you know, we lived off Harvard, so we would cut back down Judson and cut down DeForest, turn down Judson, come down and, you know, and hit right there at the corner, go to McDonald's. He lived on Harvard, so it was a straight shot just to drive down to Burger King on the corner of Lee and Harvard, right? So his family believed in the Whopper, baby. He believed in Burger King, right? He said Burger King tastes way better than McDonald's. I said, okay. So one day we were out in the mall, and the Randall Park Mall, for those who remember Randall Park Mall, southeast side of Cleveland, Ohio, in North Randall, Ohio, had its own police force and everything. But anyway, they had a Burger King. So he said, man, we're going to go in here. You're going to try this Whopper, right? Now, the Whopper, now, you know, you see the Whoppers now. The Whoppers are like this. They're like this wide. The Whopper had to be about this wide. They didn't even have a container for it. It was wrapped in paper, right? With the Burger King on it. It was about this wide and about this high. The Big Mac was like this, right? 2 all beef patties, special sauce, right? Okay, look. So I'm saying okay, and then they say it's flame broiled. Flame broiled. Kind of find out flame broiled causes prostate cancer by what Charlie Wilson says. By what Charlie Wilson says, right? Who battled prostate cancer. It says it's in the charcoal. It's in the charcoal. So anyway, flame broiled. Okay. So I take a bite of the Whopper, and I had to say that was the best tasting burger that I had ever had. Because, you know, when you started out at McDonald's, you started out with the hamburger. Then you would, as you got older, you would go to the cheeseburger. Now, the cheeseburger I thought was a good tasting thing. But then you get to the Big Mac, right? The Whopper was a totally different experience, right? Now, I don't eat beef. I haven't ate beef since 1990. But this was when we were mere still children, being able to be let out the house and go to the mall, right? The Whopper, that was one of the best tasting things. And now the kids today get the Whopper that's like this. About this high.
Getting cheated.
This wide. And then the Mac and the Big Mac is about the same. It's like, what's going on? But you know what? As I got older and I cut off beef altogether, I would go get the chicken sandwich from Burger King. Remember the chicken sandwich? It was like a rounded, rectangle, right?
Yeah.
It would leave whatever they had the sauce on it. It was a great tasting sandwich, but it would leave a aftertaste when you burp. It would have that aftertaste after that. But that to me was the best chicken sandwich on the market, right? So 2 years ago, when the whole thing with Popeye's chicken thing, I never went to taste that. I never went to go taste that, whatever, right? But to me, a prefab chicken sandwich, because they used to have prefab chicken sandwiches in elementary school and middle school. So you got used to it. So a prefab chicken sandwich where they cut it and it was cut in like how the Burger King chicken sandwich was. You used to that. But I used to think that was some of the best chicken sandwiches ever. Right? What you got to say to that? The Big Mac, the Whopper. When did you get a chance to taste the Whopper for the first time? And did it turn you from a Big Mac eater, or did you say, hey, I'm staying with my two all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickle on a sesame seed bun?
Well, for me, when Burger King I remember when it first opened, the first one I saw. So I forgot where me and Ma was coming from, but they were right across the street. They had opened up a Burger King right across from a McDonald's. So we went to Burger King, And it was not a good experience for me because when Burger King first started, the bun was like this going around, but the patty was like this. So the patty severely overlapped the bun. And you had to eat the beef outside the bun, around the bun, before you could really take the sandwich and eat it like a normal sandwich. So I didn't like that, and I didn't go to Burger King for years after that, because that experience right there just ruined the whole thing about a burger. Uh, so, but yeah, so you had 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on the sesame seed bun. Then here come Burger King with "It takes 2 hands to handle a Whopper," the 2-fisted burger at Burger King. And then or what's the other one? Hold the pickles, hold the lettuce. Special orders don't upset us. All we ask is that you let us serve it your way. Have it your way at Burger King. Have it your way at Burger King. I remember all these jingles. But yeah, my experience, I didn't go back to Burger King for years after that. So when it opened in the mall, I went back to it, and it was good then. But that overlapping thing, I don't know what that was about. I'm telling you, the beef patty was about that big, and the bun was like a normal size bun, and it overlapped. I didn't understand what was going on with that. I didn't.
So, on Facebook, Tracy Latrice says those burgers were much bigger. She also says the fish fillet was good. Yes, the McDonald's fish fillet. The McDonald's, see, that's another prefab. You don't know what pieces of fish that they sold together like Frankenstein. But you know, it tasted a little bit like cod, and there was some white fish, maybe a little whiting. Topola was not out yet, so but it was all sewn together, and you would see 2 different colors. If you ever broke the breading where you see 2 different colors, kind of silver and then the white, but it tasted good with the cheese. And then later they started giving you a half piece of cheese. I don't know what that was about. But the fish fillet was the fish fillet was my father's favorite choice from out of McDonald's. And really, so we didn't really eat that much beef even then, because we were eating the fish fillets. We were like emulating our father. He would rip the bag open, pour the fries out, and you know, we would eat 2 fish fillet sandwiches. But as you got older, you started just eating 1, right? Because that's a lot of calories, right? Let's see. Miss Ash says they taste awful now. She also said, yes, the fish is good. I agree. Tracy Latrice said to Miss Ash, I agree. The burgers are awful. I used to love those burgers growing up. Miss Ash says, it is cool and other fish mixed in. It's cod and other fish mixed in. Right. What was up with that? Right. So, go ahead.
But I tell you something. See, McDonald's fish was good, but before McDonald's fish, there was Red Barn's fish. Red Barn had one location down Harvard, almost at 77 freeway, and Red Barn's fish to this day, they had it on that sesame seed, that bigger sesame seed bun, which was more than likely a Kaiser bun, and that fish was delicious. And then McDonald's fish was number 2 for me. Then they finally closed Red Barn, and McDonald's fish became number 1. But Red Barn was the bomb.
See, remember when Red Barn was out there on Route 8? Remember when they opened up one out there on Route 8? And I remember getting that fish sandwich. See, we can't. I remember coming up on the fish fillet first, and then Red Barn opened, and then their fish sandwich was so huge. Speaking of fish hanging off the side of the bun, Red Barn. But the best, like McDonald's will always have a favorite in my heart as a fish sandwich, right? But the best fish sandwich to date that I cannot get anymore because they no longer exist in Cleveland, Ohio, is Doc's Big Fish. Their fish fillet sandwich, it seemed like it melted in your mouth. The combination of the cheese, the tartar sauce, and the bun that they use. You never know how important a bun is. The type of bun that you get, the type of bread that you use to fulfill and complete the taste is very important. And Doc's Big Fish, which was an independent black-owned chain that moved into New York. I wonder if they're still open, but that was one of the best fish sandwiches ever. Whatever type of fish they were using, I think they were using whiting, right? Because that was the craze. That's the craze in Cleveland, Ohio.
Right.
Is whiting because we're Polish, German influenced city with a large influence of the Nation of Islam, and the Nation of Islam was eating whiting, and I believe the person who owned it was a Muslim, Nation of Islam, and he cooked with whiting, right? If you ever get a chance, if they're still open in New York, go to Doc's Big Fish, right? And get that. Tracy Latrice says, chicken air nuggets. That's right. Today, the nuggets are full of air. It's like you got a batter and you get a little piece of chicken. I asked my nephew, I said, can I have one of your chicken nuggets? Because I hadn't tasted one in a long time. I bite into it. I'm biting into air. I'm like, well, where's the chicken? And then there it is right there in the corner, a little piece of, we don't even know if it was chicken, but right there in the corner. And it's like, do you have stock in McDonald's? Do you have stock in Burger King? I mean, this isn't Stock Wednesdays, but, while we're talking about it, right? Now,
let that stuff sit overnight.
Remember Poor Folks?
Yes, I remember Poor Folks.
Poor Folks everything was oversized, right? They would bring you Kool-Aid in a mason jar, right? Large mason jar, sugar overload. You didn't have to add more sugar because it was already sugar overload, and everything was oversized for the price. They didn't last long. They were poor folks. They were poor, all right. Miss Ash says, right. What was going on with that? Red Walter's fish sandwich. Where's Red Walter's fish sandwich out of? Right? That's what we need to know. We need to know where that's from. Right?
Red Walter.
Do you remember? Then you branch off. Like me, I was never really. Slyman's just passed. Did you know that? He passed last month. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did know that. Yeah.
But you were a hot corned beef enthusiast, and I really didn't get it. I mean, I liked the rye bread, but I didn't like the hot corned beef. What was it about the hot corned beef that was so good? See, we are a city that is between Polish and German influence with the food, right? Little Irish thrown in there too, but it's German and Polish. So you'll get the Polish boys, or you'll get the hot corned beef. What what's good about the hot corned beef?
Before I answer that, Red Walters Barbecue is on Cedar. It's in Cleveland, Ohio. You got two locations, Cleveland and Cleveland, one on Lakeshore, one on Cedar. Um, the corned beef. Okay, I used to work down at the credit union next to the high school that I graduated from back in the 80s, and they used to go, a group of them would get together for lunch. Oh, we're going to Slyman's. You know, everybody was making a big deal out of Slyman's. So I went, and it was off the hook. First of all, the sandwich basically is three sandwiches in one. The sandwich is piled this high, the rye is about that wide. You really could take meat off of there and get you, ask them for extra bread and have you a couple of meals later. But they got the corned beef was Vienna beef. It's the brand of beef that they used that was the big deal. It was lean. It wasn't dry. It was lean and tender and juicy. And just with that mustard, that combination of the two. But I cannot, I stopped eating that a long time ago. You talking about some salt? You may as well go buy you a box of Morton's and just open it up and just start pouring it in, because the effect that it's going to have on you, that's one of the things that doctors that tell a high blood pressure patient. They'll say stay away from corned beef. They specifically say corned beef. Stay away from corned beef, lunch meat, all lunch meat, cold cuts, and Chinese food. Stay away from those because they're all high in MSG, monosodium glutamate, straight sodium.
But it was so good while you were eating it, right? So look,
it was to die for good.
When I tasted it, you brought it home, and I said, "What is this? What are those little white things in the middle of the beef?" I didn't understand it, and it was kind of like shaved or what. I was like, I don't get the taste on this. I didn't get it. I like the fries. I didn't like that, but the Polish
corned
boy,
beef is like like pickling something. Corned beef is the same as something being pickled, like people eating dill pickle, which is a cucumber that's pickled through a process and it becomes a pickle, or pickled pig feet. All corned beef is pickled beef, basically.
or when you go to some bars in England, there's pickled eggs. Like, who would eat a pickled egg? It's all change colors and stuff. But anyway, looks like it rotted out, but it's pickled so it can stay up there for a long time, and people eat that stuff. But anyway, the Polish boy, on the other hand, the Polish boy, and you know who made the best Polish boys to me was Hot Sauce Williams, right?
Hot Sauce Williams.
Hot Sauce Williams made the best Polish boys. I don't know what kind. They would have the little tray, right? The little red and white tray.
Right.
They put the bun there. They would put the Polish boy there. They would put the coleslaw on a Polish boy, and they would take the sauce dabber and just dab all over, and it would just be full of sauce. And when you tasted it, it was perfection. Now this was black owned, Whitmore's barbecue. No, excuse me, Hot Sauce Williams barbecue, right? Black owned, but it just goes to show you how the influence of the Polish people pushed into what American black people ate, right? Great stuff, but you know, we don't eat that anymore. But the wings, incredible with the fries and the sauce. Whitmore's barbecue, incredible. You remember Dave?
You mean Hot Sauce Williams?
Yeah, Hot Sauce Williams. That's right. Because Whitmore's to me had an okay taste, but the sauce was not as good as hot sauce. What did you think about that?
Well, I always thought Whitmore sauce was open pit. I hated open pit sauce. You can buy that out at the grocery store, but open pit then stepped up a little bit. They got all these different flavors now, but I just didn't think the tanginess was too much. But you know what's funny? Dad wound up liking B&M over Hot Sauce Williams. I still don't get that. I mean, B&M is pretty good, their wings, but I still Hot Sauce Williams was still the wings for me. But you know, they got hit during COVID. I don't think they ever opened back up on this that time. Hot Sauce Williams, which was strange because all the rest of the restaurants.
That's crazy that wouldn't institution wouldn't be there. But you know, on the Steve Harvey show about a couple of years ago, Whitmore's was versus B&M, and the taste tester was Steve Harvey from Cleveland, Ohio. Superior, 105. And guess who won? Guess who won the taste test?
Whitmore's one.
That's right. Whitmore's won. Now, had you had thrown Hot Sauce Williams in there, I think that Hot Sauce Williams would have won it. I wasn't hip to Red Walters. Get some water here. I wasn't hip.
Maybe because it's on the other side of town.
Yeah, but I wasn't hip to Red Walters, right? Too much. Do you remember Dave Surf and Turf?
I do remember Dave Surf and Turf. I do.
Dave Surf and Turf had some great, their recipe, the batter and the seasoning made that fish just, incredible. They cooked whiting too. But then another business opened up that was not black owned, but they hired black employees, and that was Sharks, right? What you think about Sharks? Right. Pops used to like Sharks.
I didn't like Sharks because they never cooked the fish the way I told them to cook the fish. I like my stuff fried hard. I like crunchy on the outside. And I could never get them to do what I wanted them to do. But unfortunately, they were one of the only places that carried black bass. I like black bass, and they were one of the only places that carried it. And but they would tick me off every time, and I just got to the point where I just stopped going to Sharks because I could never get it like I wanted it.
See, and that wasn't black on, right? And now there's a person that comes from Chicago. I have not had a chance to taste his food, but he has been a radio personality in Cleveland, Ohio for quite some years now, and that is Sam Silk. Have you been over to Sam Silk's restaurant to check out his fish yet?
Yes, and his Challenger is superb. It's a special on the Challengers every Tuesday. I think they're $6.99, and the Challenger comes with, I think there's 2 pieces of whiting on a long oblong bun. Then you have the lettuce, tartar sauce, and I believe it's tomato on there too. And then I think, there are fries wrapped up in there. So it's almost like a Polish boy, but with fish instead. And it is superb. I love that Challenger. I haven't had one in a while, by the way.
See, he comes from Chicago, another city influenced by the Nation of Islam. So he cooks with whiting, the cleanest fish. You see? So we have been in Cleveland, Ohio, just reminiscing. We started with the chains, and then we made our way to the top of the list, which is black-owned restaurants. We were spoiled in that corridor, or Lee and Harvard, Lee Seville, Lee Chagrin. We were spoiled by having black-owned restaurants. We were spoiled by having black-owned restaurants on 105 and Superior, right? We were spoiled to be able to go around different places around the city. I'm not too sure about the west side. But as far as the east side, the northeast side, and the southeast side, we were spoiled by different types of restaurants. The one that defunct early on, that it started down on 131st, was Hot and Juicy. Hot and Juicy had this chicken sandwich. I don't know how you would describe this Hot and Juicy, but it was hot and juicy. Just like what it said, it was like it was fried, but it was as if it was fried in water or something. And the batter was perfect, and it was hot and juicy. And we were just spoiled with various restaurants. I remember Hot and Juicy when they moved from 131st and moved up to Lee Road, right across from the old KFC that became B&M's, but first it was Doc's Big Fish, right? They moved right across from there, across from that building, right? We were just spoiled with black-owned restaurants, and we were spoiled in that corridor with black-owned business, right? I mean, it's just amazing to just reminisce, and all that was an influence, Chic, Bob's Wine Barrel, you know what I mean?
I was just
Different
thinking
places like that, like just the influence, black business people doing the thing. We had the dentist right there on the corner, right there by the gas station. I can't think of his name. Then we had Ken Ferguson that had the karate studio, right? And then later he branched off into doing children's parties with the Barney we discussed, but he was getting it done, right? And so I mean, yeah, so we've been blessed to see black-owned business, right? And let's go through some of the comments here. Very salty corned beef, Miss Ash says. I have to try Red Walter's fish sandwich, Tracy Trace says. All high sodium, Miss Ash says. And then Tracy Trace says, y'all making me hungry. Tracy Trace said, so many great black-owned restaurants. Miss Ash says, so many black, Miss Ash says, have not had the fish, but the chicken is good. Yes, my brother worked there when it was on 131st, talking about Hot and Juicy. We loved Hot and Juicy, Tracy Trace said. I remember when Hot and Juicy changed hands. It was a guy, and wait a minute, how could I forget the restaurant that was right next door to my store on Warrensville, on Harvard and Warrensville, which was Captain's Choice. Captain's Choice. Another restaurant that cooked whiting that was Muslim inspired. We had some of the best food because a lot of the restaurants were owned by Muslims, black Muslims in particular, not Arab Muslims, but black Muslims from the Nation of Islam. So we always, when we broke away from eating at fast food joints, we went to places where they tried to prepare the food healthy as they could. And Captain's Choice, when I first tasted that and I think that and Doc's Big Fish, they're equal They're equal. Totally different recipe, totally different taste, but they're equal in their consistency, in their taste, in their goodness. What you think about Captain's Choice?
They were superb. I only had them one time and it was great. It was great. They were very, very good. Did you ever have Sister Raffy's? They were off
No,
Superior.
no, I never had that, and I never had Black Nile right there by the Islamic bookstore. I never had the
Oh,
Nile
okay.
restaurant. I never got, because that was a sit down restaurant. And I never,
Okay.
certain things I regret. I never got a chance to taste their food, right? Because they were right next door to the Islamic bookstore. And we just never had, we were so busy, we never had time to just take time to go sit down and taste the food. You know what I mean? Just sit down in a sit
Right.
down restaurant, right? But
Right.
what was about Sister Ralphie's?
Well, I lived over that way and never got there. I mean, but you could smell that fish. When you were getting off the bus, you could smell that fish. That whole place was rocking with fish when you walked past there, and it stayed packed. It was never a time where Sister Raffy's wasn't packed. I just never made it over there. Never made it. Because there was a hot sauce Williams right across the street, diagonally across the street, right? So that's where I always ended up at Hot Sauce Williams.
You went for the less healthy alternative at the time, right?
I sure did.
Yeah, that's the memory lane. Memory lane. Yeah, that was good. That was good. Now let's get back to let's get back to reality. On Miscellaneous Mondays, MLK Day edition. Smash the share button, smash the like button. A healthy, quote unquote, a healthy doctor died 2 weeks after getting a COVID-19 vaccine. CDC is investigating why. He was healthy until he got the vaccine. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be the 0.024 that begets 400, begets 4,000. Right? I don't want to be that. I don't know about you, but we'll see. We'll see. Okay, so this one right here is an image that I thought was pretty striking. This is playing with water in 15-degree temperature. When you throw water in 15-degree temperature, you produce basically looking like a brain or a mohawk or just a nice design. That's water. Or freezing in the air as you throw it. 15-degree temperature or below.
Huh.
15 below, right?
Wow.
Now, going on, moving forward. Next meme here. Knowing what your intentions are will help you bring about your goals. You can't reach your goals if you don't know what they are. Knowing what your intentions are will help you bring about your goals. You can't reach your goals if you don't know what they are. Very interesting. I thought that was a good meme to bring up
It
on
is.
Miscellaneous Mondays, right? All right, which leads into mind think, right? Which leads into how your mind works, which is 9 types of intelligence. 9 types of intelligence. And they are bodily kinesthetic. It's like kinetic, body smart.
Kinesthetic.
Kinesthetic, yeah. Body smart. Interpersonal, people smart. Existential,
Existential.
existential, that's it. Life smart. Intrapersonal, self smart. Logical, mathematical, number, reasoning smart. Linguistic, word smart. Musical, sound smart. Naturalist, natural smart, and spatial, which is spatial. Well, it's not really space though. But I see it. Spatial. Picture smart. What do you fall on that? On that time, what do you think you fall on that?
I have fallen to several of those.
Uh huh.
Let's see.
I brought it up bigger so you can see it.
Interpersonal. Existential grew over time. uh, let's see. Musical, definitely. Let's wait. What's the one that's below existential across the bottom?
Let me look at it. It's a intrapersonal, self-smart, inner, like intrapersonal.
Definitely that. And what's another one across the bottom?
Logical, mathematical, number, reasoning smart.
Yep, that one too.
Linguistic, word smart.
Yep, that too.
Oh wow, you're just doing it all, right? All right, so all nine.
Well, I said one of them came over time. One of them
Yeah.
came over time. That was the existential.
Life smart. Right?
Life smart.
All right, let's keep moving here. All right. Speaking of things that you experienced in the 70s, best black 70s sitcoms. They have 4 up here. Best black 70s sitcoms, right? Sanford and Son, Good Times, What's Happening, and The Jeffersons. Which one out of those 4 is the best to you? Which one out of those 4 is the best 70s sitcom to you?
I liked all of those, but I tend to lean towards the ones that have us in a better light. But my personal favorite, though, even though I wind up having to watch Good Times when I'm looking at old TV, and Sanford and Son, those seem to be the two that they put out the most. But I liked What's Happening. I liked What's Happening. The Jeffersons, he had moved up, and they were in a different tax bracket. He was a business owner and things like that. And then they attacked other issues like, racism or interracial relationships and things like that. But I liked What's Happening. It was just it was light. Of course you had the mama that, she was a single mother raising her kids or whatever, and occasionally the father would come strolling back in to her life every now and then, and she would resist him. But I just liked I like Dee, the smart mouth little sister, and I liked it. I liked it. It's hard though to really choose between those, but I probably will watch the Jeffersons less.
The one that I would watch probably over and over would be Sanford and Son. And the reason why is because Red Fox bridged a gap between. I'm gonna say this vaudeville, right? He wasn't born during the time of vaudeville, but he bridged the gap between people who were in vaudeville, like Scatman Crothers. He was actually back then in vaudeville. You know, Nipsey Russell, not to be confused with Nipsey Hussle, but Nipsey Russell and Scatman Crothers were back during that time. Young coming up through the Chitlin circuit, and Red Fox was bridging a gap, kind of like how Sammy Davis Jr. bridged the gap, and he ran all the way up until 1990, but he goes all the way back into a little kid into the late 20s, into the early 30s. You see what I'm saying? So that's a long gap. And so Sanford and Son, they would have those, he would have those people on as invited guests, and they would do song melodies and, you know, do performances and things. And so that's why I like Sanford and Son the most, right? Is because it bridged the gap, and you got to see your people from way back still important during that time, right?
Right.
Nipsey Russell lasted a long. I mean, Scatman Crothers lasted a long time, and they were so good. They had such rich skin. You didn't know how old they were. You didn't know how old they were. You thought that they were the same age as Red Fox, and that's how it was back in the day. People would all be together, and because that was the time it was, and you wouldn't know how old a person was necessarily, or how young a person was. Now, here's one on Miscellaneous Mondays. You get stuck into a 90s TV time warp and must live with one family. Choose wisely. Let me see if I can tell you what families they are, because they're kind of small.
I see the Bundys. I know who that is. Can't miss
Right,
the hair.
The Bundys, and then Family Matters, and then you have Roseanne and her family. Then you have Will Smith and his family, and then that's what is that with the two twins? I can't think of that. They did a reboot on that.
Oh, Family Ties.
No,
No.
not Family Ties. It's the twin girls, and I cannot think.
I know you're talking about the Olsen twin girls.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The ones that didn't age too well.
Ooh,
Then I don't even know
horrible.
who this family is over here to the left. I don't even know who that is, right?
Wait, bring it up at the bottom.
Let me bring it larger here. The one at the top left. I don't even know who they are. You know, I know who the middle family is with the twins, but I can't think of their name right now. And then the Bundys. But you're stuck. You're stuck with one family. So which family would you live with?
Oh, Lord. I would probably do Will Smith and his family. Whatever the name of that show was.
Oh, that's Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That's what you would do?
Yeah, probably that. Yeah.
Let me do Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You know, at first, when I first read this, I thought they said you be in a time warp in the 90s, TV time warp, and you must watch one family, right? And my choice to watch was the Bundys, you know, Married with Children, because that was just side-splitting irreverent comedy, right? But if I'm gonna be stuck with a family to live with, it would be the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, right? There would be, yeah, Full House. Thank you very much, Miss Ash. It's Full House is the one with the twins, and I think she said that's the one she would choose. And then Tracy Trace said Fresh Prince, right? So, yeah, that would be what I would choose Fresh Prince. So Fresh Prince seems to win out to live with, but if I just had to watch one, I'd be watching the Bundys. Because that was just hilarious. Do you remember the one when, I mean, this wouldn't even pass the censor test, but he dressed up as Santa Claus. And it's just so absurd. It's just so absurd. But the little girl comes, and he said, and she sits on the side and said, "Don't sit there, little girl." just irreverent, just pervy. It would be considered pervy, but back then it was considered something that was a joke, that was funny, but you knew what the implication was, and you say, "I can't believe that he said that." Now you remember this? Do you remember this right here? Do you remember, as the question asks, who remembers waking up to this on Saturday morning? Hey, 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 hey! It's Fat Albert. Nah, nah, nah. Gonna have a good time. Hey, hey, hey! Remember we were in Value City on the west side.
I was just going to tell that story.
We was on Value City on the west side, right? And it was a fat dude with an afro, right? Dark-skinned fat dude with an afro. I'm a little kid. What am I, about 5? I think I'm about 5. That's when I came aware of everything. And he had a Fat Albert t-shirt on. So what did I tell Mom?
We at the checkout, and we just about done, and D is 3 years old, okay? And so, yeah, it was 3 years old. No, you were 3. You turned and said, "Look, Ma," and I mean you pointing at the guy. There go Fat Albert. It was like, scratch the record, like. The children say the darndest things. Ma could have probably been fit to be tied. She didn't turn red though.
But he had a Fat Albert t-shirt on, so what did he expect? He looked like Fat Albert. He was dressed like Fat Albert. For all intents and purposes, he was Fat Albert. Miss Ash says, "No, I would choose them. I am stuck with twins 5 days a week at work. She goes with Full House, I guess. She goes with Fresh Prince. Okay. Yeah, so he had the Fat Albert t-shirt on. He had the afro. His afro looked like Fat Albert's afro. And so he had it on, and I said, "Hey, look, there goes Fat." That was loud, too loud. Kids do say the darndest things, right?
Wait a minute. Wait, quick story sidebar. Now this is not this is not a Fat Albert story, but it's a sidebar about children saying the darndest things. See, the perplexing thing about having smart children or quick-witted children is that you never know what they have picked up on wherever. So my parents were social drinkers, not drunkards that you see stumbling around. They were social drinkers. So, but they had certain things that they drank, and they had certain things that they didn't drink. So we in the store. I'm 2, and we going down the aisle. You know, in some stores you have, the wine aisle, and there's other sorts of liquor, like they'll have vodka and stuff, but it might be cheaper vodka in those aisles because it's not really a liquor store; it's a grocery store. And except now, Giant Eagle has a liquor store in it. But we're going down the aisle, and I'm seeing all these bottles. Now, who would think that a 2-year-old child and picked up on bottle, like, has made the association with bottles and the names of the liquors and stuff like that? Who would think that, right? Here I go. Ma, you gonna buy some scotch? My parents didn't even drink scotch. They didn't even drink scotch. I think that was my aunt that drank scotch. My mother. I mean, imagine you going down the aisle with your child in the cart, and there's only a few people in the aisle, and this child blurts out the blue, "Ma, you gonna buy some scotch?" Just, she was so embarrassed.
When
Oh
Ma's
God.
when Ma's lip furrowed though, and them lips got tight, and teeth. You was in for it. You was in for it. I mean, you might as well forget it. You might as well just.
But Mom was repeating the story to Dad when he got home from work, and that's the only thing I remember from two, because usually you can't remember back past three. But she was telling him, "Can you imagine this girl talking about some scotch?" She's like, we don't even drink scotch." That was funny. And the people in the aisle was just looking. Everybody turned and looked. That was it. Oh boy.
Boy. Okay. Moving right along down memory lane here. The signs as boyfriends, girlfriends. The zodiac signs as boyfriend and girlfriend. The genuine. Oh my God, my tongue is just twisted. The genuine, playful, and loyal ones takes care of you and are kinder, obsessive, and clingy. Are kinda obsessive and clingy. Scorpio, Leo, Aquarius, and Aries. The super chill, genuine, and playful one who's also serious and kind of confusing. Sagittarius, Cancer, Libra, Virgo. The one who's always busy but makes time for you, pushes you to do your best, and loves you unconditionally. Pisces, Capricorn, Taurus, Gemini. Yeah, yeah. What you got to say about that? Is that true?
This is quite a different take on those than I've seen in times past, but because I guess we've had some kind of shift in the planets and stuff like that, it could be. Now I do agree with, because I'm a Taurus, so um, always who's always busy but makes time for you. Yeah, we make time for who we want to make time for. Pushes you to do your best. Yes. Loves you unconditionally. Yes. But it's unconditionally with a condition. If you crazy, if you're I see we're frozen. If you're Here we go. If you're a person that's a problem, there's a certain levels of grace. But if after so long of being a problem, we'll love you from a distance. It'll be unconditional, but it'll be at a distance, and that's to keep us from hurting you. But go ahead.
Oh, keep you from hurting you. Oh, wow. Yeah, 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 genuine. Gemini. Gemini. Well, what was that? What group was that had the songs where they were singing the different zodiac signs? Oh, wow.
Was that the fifth dimension? Was
No,
that
no,
the
no,
fifth
no, no,
dimension?
no, 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 no. That it was an all male group. Was it the Shy Lights, the Dramatics? Where they say Gemini? Na, 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 na. Oh, I can't think of the melody right now. But that would be real good if I could think of that melody right now. I used to listen to it in the store a lot. I don't even remember what that was. It was the best stuff. Anyway, moving right along into this is MLK Day on Miscellaneous Mondays, Observations, episode 78. Did anyone see that hit job that they put out called MLK slash FBI documentary? They advertised it on Instagram. You've probably seen the advertisement on Instagram where they advertised it, and they were saying how the FBI was, wiretapping and doing everything with King. Have you seen this travesty? This is what I wrote about it. I wrote about this right after I saw it because we had finished watching the show, and then they sent us over a screener of it. And so we were watching it, right? But it came in after we had finished the show yesterday. On Sunday. So we weren't able to review it. And so I just said this. You found the spot said, just finished watching at MLK FBI documentary and the hashtag TFR Podcast Live assessment of the documentary is we must assume their civil rights organizations are preparing the audience who is still living from that time and those who look up to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. today for the ultimate shock on what is on those FBI tapes releasing in 2027. They're getting ready to release in 2027. They're getting ready to release these tapes, right? They're getting ready to release the tapes on MLK. Now everyone's heard about the tape that the FBI sent to Coretta Scott King, right? It actually wasn't sent to Coretta Scott King originally. It wound up at the SCLC, but what happened was it was addressed to him and her, so they just put it into a box and they took it over to the house. And you know how people do reenactments of how they thought it probably happened? They said that Coretta Scott King called back to the office and said, you have to watch the documentary to see it. But it is a major hit job on Martin Luther King. So they're expecting that you have to watch the documentary to see, because to be prepared. Because really, if Martin Luther King was anything like they're proposing or they're insinuating, and if the FBI was just about to lower the boom on him, like the documentary alludes, but he was assassinated, so everything stopped. He's done more. He did more for American black people than most American black people do for themselves. He did more. He took more slings and arrows. And if he had such a proclivity as what they are saying, he did more for American black people to see American black people be free in this society than anyone else. And he lost his life for it, doing it, right? I haven't seen any other civil rights leaders, you know, the ones that went into the Swedes, lose their life over it, trying to help black people. So if he had this proclivity, if he had this proclivity, this weakness, well, he did more for you and I than anyone else in modern history before or since. What would you like to say about that?
That's absolutely right. Being a kingdom advocate, there are some things, there's some things that are not consistent or that runs parallel with kingdom thought and kingdom life. However, his works as a person that was an advocate for black people, you can't. He laid down his life for it. I mean, he took a lot of stuff for it. He did better than even I in this part of my life would have done when that person put that brick upside his head. And I think it was Stokely Carmichael that wanted to go in on that person, and he was like, no, don't do that or whatever. No, that would have been a brick going back. It would have been an eye for an eye. So that's a part of me that people who know me know I've said this. There are some things that I choose to keep, and my ability to defend myself should the occasion arise is something I'm keeping, and that's not something the scripture ever said you had to do away with. Anyway, it just said not to be a loose cannon and have a hair-triggered temper, but to be temperate. But if you come for it, if you campaign, like somebody said, if you campaigning, but it's whooping, I'm gonna elect you. That's what time it is over here.
Which brings us to the video presentation. You didn't know that we were going to have a video presentation. Or did I say that at the beginning? I'm not sure. But because we've been so robust today with what we talked about going down memory lane on Miscellaneous Mondays. MLK Day on Miscellaneous Mondays on #ObservationsTFR episode 78. We're getting ready to show you the opposite of Dr. Martin Luther King right now. We're getting ready to show you the opposite. We're getting ready to show you new footage. New footage from the siege on January 6th. We're going to show you these half-baked, my opinion, mongrels that need to be put down. They need to be put down, and their children need to be adopted and reprogrammed, damn it. These people need to be reprogrammed because you best believe black people have a problem practicing nonviolence towards each other, but they have no problem practicing nonviolence towards these mongrels, in my opinion. Mongrels that need to be put down. They're not even good for their own people. So listen to this. Listen to this. Listen to this. And watch this.
Whose house? We're not standing. We're outnumbered. Information operation.
There's gotta be something in here we can against these scumbags.
Okay. They're rifling through papers. They're doing all this other shit. Like they're information gathering. But what? Their minds aren't even intelligent enough to know what to do with the information that they were taking pictures of with their smartphones. You know how people are at concerts and they film the whole concert, and when the phone goes, all of that went with it. It was never downloaded. Same with this shit. Just miscellaneous Mondays. They're miscellaneous. They need to be put down, and their children need to be reprogrammed. Reprogrammed. And what do I mean by that? Let's continue on, and we will get to what I mean by reprogramming. Smash the like button, smash the share button. We are in full throttle, rubber hitting the road right now.
Who's a governor? Whatever.
Cruz, I think Cruz would want us to do this. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Objection to counting electoral votes of the state of Arizona.
Wait, no, that's
that's actually okay. All right, we're down based on
He's with us. He's with us.
Okay. They were talking about the dude from Texas, right? And they were saying that he was going to sell them out. And so they were going against him. He couldn't even read the fucking paper. The paper said, objection to the Arizona vote count. Objection to the Arizona vote count. And they thought that Cruz was against them. This guy in the green. What type of education did he go through? These people have the nerve. They have the nerve to call this man, who graduated from college at age 16. They have the nerve to call this man Martin Luther King. Every year you will see a weather person or someone on one of the local news programs. They will come out and say Martin Luther King, right? To be same people. These are the same people who have the mentality of this guy, the guy in the green, Same, and all the rest that were there. Make America great again. Now remember, we always tell you that Trump is a symptom of what's been going on in this country for many years. Them teasing, them flirting with segregationists and racists and white supremacists. And it's just now coming to sit on them now because they found a guy who actually listened to them, who they felt was listening to them because other politicians had abandoned them, playing and teasing them, But other than that, just for a vote, but other than that, they weren't going to do anything for them. They have the nerve to call this man right here, this great man. No matter what proclivities that may be coming out in 2027 from the FBI tapes. I mean, J. Edgar Hoover was a homosexual crossdresser. He was just conservative with it. Whatever proclivities this man might have had, he's head over heels better than them in their ignorant whiteness. The same mentality that stormed the Capitol on the 6th, who couldn't even read to see that Cruz was with them. Same mentality that would call him that. And anyone who does that this year, if they should be so bold, should be relieved of their duty. Want to know why? Because they have the same mentality as those who sieged the Capitol. If you have friends like that who you thought were friends, and they say Martin Luther King, you tell them his name was Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and he's and was and still is way more intelligent than you could ever be. Oh, they're trying to clip me on me saying that they're intelligent, that Martin Luther King was more intelligent than these hill. Oh, look, they're trying to really clip. They're really trying to really clip. Than these hill jackers. All right.
Oh my God.
What a maroon. You know, it's interesting. Last hour, Ed Lou said that it was violence mixed with stupidity. Well, that's not really surprising because that's exactly what Donald Trump wanted. They have been fed misinformation over the past several years.
Yesterday, our next guest delivered a sermon at the historic Washington National Cathedral, presenting it as if it was a letter from St. Paul to America. Georgetown University sociology professor Dr. Michael Eric Dyson joins us now. He is the author of the book, Long Time Coming, Reckoning with Race in America.
Thank you so much for being with us. Tell me, Michael, what would St. Paul tell us on this Martin Luther King Day?
Well, thanks for having me. I'm at Vanderbilt now, so I'm grateful to announce to you that Willie Geist and I are members of the same tribe, right?
All right, that's great.
I love it.
I think that St. Paul would reckon with the history of American exceptionalism. St. Paul would say to us, don't think that you are unique in a way that God has shined special favor on you when you continue to portray to your citizens and to yourselves in the mirror of self-reflection a hideous and an odious rejection and repudiation of the very principles you claim are the predicate of your nation. If you claim that democracy is real, if you claim that sharing resources is real, if you claim that justice is real, how can you deny it to the very members of your society who most deserve it? And when we look at the Capitol, we see a group of people enraged. And let's be honest, one of the princes of American journalism, David Remnick, was just on your show speaking about something that we have to grapple with. And that is that white supremacy is at the heart of so much of what we see going on. And in one sense, many of those who stormed the Capitol were angry at other white lawmakers for not having held in check some of the expansion of democracy to the masses that they thought were problematic, to African American people in particular.
This is what, we've been reinforcing on the show. That everything that you see happening has to do with American blacks, one way or the other. It has to do. And so Michael Eric Dyson, spits it so eloquently. So let's continue with what he's saying.
But when we look at the history of anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim experiences and beliefs and anti-Mexican sentiment, the kind of gaggle of bigots that gathered there suggests to us this is not simply a political matter. It is a matter of morality. It is a matter of national vision. And St. Paul would say to us, be extremely careful in believing that your nation above all has been blessed by God. Other nations have felt the same way. St. Paul would say, I dealt with the Roman Empire. They thought they were pretty special too. But the common theme that binds all of these nations is the blindness to its own critical faults and failures that need to be taken into account if the nation is to rise to the ideals that it nobly expresses.
And nobly expresses and is nobly expressed from the very beginning. Of course, on this Martin Luther King Day, it was interesting that MLK would often quote Thomas Jefferson and Jefferson's ultimate promise to this nation, which shows the contradictions that, as Eddie Glaude said, wrap around the very foundations of this country. That yes, we were founded by brilliant political philosophers who wrote documents that freed more people than any other political documents in the history of mankind. And yet they were slave owners. And it is important to note this. They were slave owners after slavery was moving into being a peculiar institution in the South alone. Slavery, this was not a worldwide phenomenon. You could have said that in the 14th, 15th century. But by 1776, going into the 1800s, it was becoming a peculiar institution to the South and the South alone.
Yeah, it's a great point, Joe. Dr. King often did quote Thomas Jefferson or even Abraham Lincoln, but he also said something the night before he was murdered. He said, America, all we ask is that you be true to what you said on paper, so that to transform it and to transfer it from parchment to pavement, from ink to the traditions of American society on the ground. And it's extremely important to recall that even in the Declaration of Independence, when you look beyond those opening words and you look at where Africans are characterized, interestingly enough, as, quote, domestic insurrectionists, and Native and indigenous people as merciless savages. So the very document that we appeal to this day to make certain that we are shoring up America's commitment to justice, that we are making sure that we pay attention to the obstacles, the barriers, the impediments that prevent us from flourishing, that in that very document is contained some of the most extraordinarily racist arguments that can be made. So what we say ultimately is we use the best of Thomas Jefferson. We use the genius of Monticello, the architect of so much, not just that building, but of American democratic engagement, to argue against the worst of our nation. As Abraham Lincoln said, the better angels of our nature against what we might frame the demons of our failed democracy.
That's why it's important to read the Constitution, because we tell you that we've told you before that there's certain writing in the Constitution that is not favorable to American blacks both ways, because the savages, so-called, and the insurgency, they're talking about basically us twice, or and many times throughout it. And that means that we are not included in all men are created equal. But in actuality, we take the best of what's out of the document and say that we are human beings, even though we are still seen as 3/5 of a human being. We are human beings, and all men and women are created equal. You see? And so we have to have that understanding. So let's move forward. Let's keep moving forward here. It's very important on this MLK Day. Here we go.
You know, that's such a brilliant way to put that, Michael. And I guess it's the lawyer in me that every time I read or hear Martin Luther King quoting the slaveholder who wrote the Declaration of Independence, I smile because he's using his words as a sword, and when he's in Birmingham jail, as a shield against the reality of America. I want to ask you on this very special day, you brought up one of the most extraordinary speeches in Martin Luther King's life, that April 3rd, 1968 speech in Memphis, as John Meacham in his extraordinary podcast explains to us. Martin Luther King wasn't feeling well. He didn't want to get up. He didn't want to give the speech. Ralph Abernathy had stalled the crowd as long as he could. And they said, you gotta come, Martin. You gotta come and give the speech to the people. They're here for you. So King gets out in the driving rain. He's exhausted. He doesn't want to do it. And he gets up and delivers one of the great speeches in American history.
Of all time.
And he talks about loving longevity. Longevity has its place, but he doesn't care if he lives or dies. And he talks about God is taking him up to the mountain, and he's seen the other side. He's seen the other side. I just, for you personally, as you've heard those words your entire life, as you've read those words your entire life, what do you think Martin Luther King saw on the other side of that mountain?
Wow, such breathtaking beauty with which you describe the extraordinary last day of Martin Luther King Jr.'s life. I've written 2 books on Martin Luther King Jr. I may not get there with you, The True Martin Luther King Jr. and April 4th, 1968, the death of Martin Luther King Jr. and how it's changed America. And what you just summarized is so poignant, is so profound, is so provocative. Here was a man, as you said, was raining cats and dogs. He had been threatened on the way to Memphis on the plane, because he says in that speech, some have talked about what some of our sick white brothers will do to me. So here's a man who's under the threat of death. And let's be honest, Joe, let's be even more transparent. Martin Luther King Jr. was at a point where he was at the nadir of his popular appeal. He had twice appeared on America's Most Admired lists, and yet this last year, he did not appear on that list. Very few American universities wanted to hear from him. No book publisher wanted to publish his book. So here was a man on the outs. He is seen as a pariah because of his critique of the Vietnam War. And David Remnick provided me an opportunity. I have an essay in the New Yorker right now describing King's automortality. He's speaking of his own death. And on that very night, when he's not feeling well, he has to get up and shave. He has to go to the temple because he doesn't want to go to a small crowd, because the small crowd will reinforce the perception that Dr. King is no longer relevant. So he didn't feel like going to put up with that. When they got there, Ralph Abernathy got on the phone and said, there are 2,000 or more people here waiting for you. So King rushed over there. Can you imagine? On the spot, he delivers one of the greatest speeches not only he ever gave, but America has ever heard. And at the end, he says, there's a little white girl from White Plains, Georgia, White Plains, New York, who wrote me a letter after she found out I had been stabbed by a demented woman from Harlem. And he said, all she said was, Dear Dr. King, I'm so happy that you didn't sneeze. He took that as a refrain and said, I'm so happy I didn't sneeze, because had I sneezed, I would have drowned in my own blood and it would have been all over. So he uses the refrain of a little white girl from White Plains, New York, to characterize his belief in the persistence of his life. And as you said at the end, when he says, I've gone up like Moses on the mountaintop, and perhaps like Moses, I will not get to the promised land, but I promise that you will get to the promised land. That eternal hope that burned brightly within him, even in the last day of his life, was an extraordinary flame that should light our path to freedom even today.
Eddie, I think there's an especially poignant time to talk about Martin Luther King on this MLK.
Okay, now I really want you to listen to this with Eddie Goulard. You know, his name eludes me. What he says, right? Tracy Latrice says Martin Luther King's book, Where Do We Go From Here? The foreword is written by his wife, Coretta Scott King. See more. This is a great book. Everyone should own this book. That's right. Where do we go from here? Let's continue. Listen to what Eddie says here, and watch as Joe's throat, who has in the past massaged, teased, flirted with these racists to get votes. Listen to how his throat has to clear and clear and clear and clear and clear. Listen.
Day, and also to talk about what happened in 2020. You and I have been talking for quite some time about how we synthesize our dual realities. That we had an extraordinary group of political philosophers at the beginning of this republic who created documents that freed more men and women and liberated more men and women than anybody in the history of this world. It was a revolution, and yet most were slaveholders. And the question is, how do you synthesize that? Also, especially after 2020, when many people like you and me believed that constitutional republic was at risk. Who saved that constitutional republic created, for the most part, by white slaveholders? It was black women. Black women in Wisconsin, in Milwaukee County, and Wayne County, Michigan, and Atlanta, Georgia, Fulton County, Georgia. I mean, you want to talk about irony. The American experiment lives today because of black voters in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. How remarkable is that?
Yeah, Joe. I mean, we've been having this conversation for a number of years, and we saw it in real time over this last election cycle. But, you know, when we think back on American history, we know that what is challenged, what has been the contradiction, what has been the serpent wrapped around the legs of the table upon which the Constitution was signed, the Declaration of Independence was crafted, was this belief that white people matter more than others, that this ideology of whiteness. And we want to just distinguish this. I mean, it's hard for us to do in this moment. But we think about every moment of crisis. Most of the major moments of crises in this country where we've challenged the basic precepts of democracy. It has been in defense of this belief that this country ought to remain a white nation in the vein of old Europe. When we think about, just really quickly, when we think about the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, and we think about radical Reconstruction, Joe, and then we think about the Compromise of 1877, what was that about? That was about an ideology. Of course, there were economic underpinnings, but that was an ideology that insisted that the nation had to be a white nation in the vein of old Europe, and Hitler's Germany would look to us as a model, as scholars at Yale have written about. And when we think about the mid-20th century and Dr. King's sacrifice and the sacrifice of everyday ordinary people for us to actually make good on the promises of radical Reconstruction, this is why scholars call it the second Reconstruction. Why was it undermined? How did we roll it back? It had everything to do with this consensus behind us. And what's so interesting about the recent moment is that we saw people sacking the Capitol in defense of a world that Dr. King sacrificed his life to destroy. Those people are cleaving to a world that Dr. King gave his life to dismantle. It is up to you and me, Joe, and others, for us to begin the hard work of imagining America apart from this insidious view that some people ought to be valued more because of the color of their skin. We have to finally uproot that so we can step into the promise of American life.
And you know,
boy, that throat was clearing.
What I said.
I've campaigned on some of that bullshit in my time. So, people, This has been a robust episode. Let me tell you, this has been a robust episode. Heated. Woo, Miscellaneous Mondays. A robust, entertaining, going down memory lane, celebrating Martin Luther King, MLK Day, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. What would you like to say, Tonya, before we close out?
Well, paying homage to one of our great leaders among few that I recognize as having been a leader, despite the way they try to slant his life. I'm not going to partake in that part of it. He was great. He was, like you said, he graduated college at 16. He went in at like 15 or something like that, 14, 15 years old. So that indicates that he was ahead. He was a genius as well. So nobody want to talk about that. How you graduate from college at 16? That's 6 years, or that's about 6 years ahead of normal graduation date. Usually you go in at 18 and come out at 22 if you're going for a bachelor's. And so he came out at 16. That should tell you something. But all is not lost as far as the dream that he saw, but it's going to take a people paying attention. You can't be asleep out here like you have been, or like a lot of us have been out here sleeping. And some of y'all still talking about the Capitol event as if it was totally Trump's fault. You ain't got it yet. Just a sitting duck. Anything that the media is feeding you, making it easy for them now, at least make it hard for them to decipher what they should be telling you. I don't know, but this has been another robust show, and enjoy those of you who are off work today. If your jobs gave you off, or if you took off, enjoy your day today. Be safe. Stay out of foolishness and foolish contentions with foolish people where there are no spoils, and have a wonderful day. I will see you guys tomorrow.
Tomorrow is Tasty Tuesdays, and the subtitle is Vegan Recipes Remedies. That's right. Vegan Recipes Remedies. That's right. So you definitely want to tune in tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, to where you see us broadcasting now. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, follow, friend where you're at, right? Where you're watching us at, right? We appreciate bringing this show to you. We appreciate you tuning in with us today on this MLK Day. You could have been any place else, but you are here with us, and we hope that we brought you an entertaining Miscellaneous Monday. MLK on Miscellaneous Mondays. Hashtag Observations TFR, episode 78. Make sure you take some time to binge watch our previous episodes, because we drop a lot of information, right? And so we will see you tomorrow. With no further ado, I'm going to say adieu, and we will see you again tomorrow.
Here's the thing about your movie, why I made a curator's pick of the Hollywood Fringe Festival. Community, heart, you're doing it.
Observations TFR, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday.